Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome to Going Medieval, an upcoming colony sim game that should be entering into early access around about a week or so from the point in time when you will be seeing this video. I have been granted early access by the developers, and so now I am going to tell you all about Going Medieval, starting with the most immediately obvious fact, namely that this game draws inspiration from Rimworld in the same way that Warcraft draws inspiration from Warhammer. Yes. It is to the point that I frequently find myself reaching for the old familiar Rimworld hotkeys in-game. It is an eminently similar experience, shall we say, but that in and of itself is not necessarily negative at all. And it is not a straight-up copy either, since as you can immediately see, the game has introduced a factor that is of course not present in Rimworld, namely that it's all 3D. Whilst in Rimworld you are bound to a single layer, in Going Medieval you can build towers, like this upcoming storage structure on the way right here. You can see that there are little steps going on inside, and the walls themselves rise up towards the sky. I also have a... See, I would like to call it a castle, but armored blockhouse might be a more realistic term, frankly. Let me turn off the top part. I have forgotten the word for roof. There we go, English, derp. The roof here, and you can see at the top I have a small workshop where Uhtred is working hard at making a longbow, I do believe. Yes, he is. Then we've got a little material storage area over there. Zooming in a little bit more, you can see the layers up here, by the way, as I'm moving through the layers. We eventually arrive at the library underneath, the research room, where I write books, and the books allows me to access the research screen, requiring both normal chronicles and textbooks to unlock further upgrades. In this case, I am lacking some blue ones. I'm lacking some chronicles. I've got quite a lot of textbooks, but I need myself some more chronicles. So let's queue up another, say, 100 of those, shall we? You do need quite a lot of this. There you go. I've also got a tailor's area over here, where you also have a woodworking bench for creating some spears. And I've got some zones with linen cloth for easy access. Further down beneath this, we have the Great Hall, where they gather to eat and play games of backgammon. Apparently a very popular medieval game. Then we've got a kitchen, and since we've got we're in medieval times, of course, refrigerators are unfortunately rather rare. So how do you make sure that food doesn't just simply rot away constantly? Although, well, it is. You dig a hole in the ground and store the food underground. That is really, really cool. Even got a little secondary storage room further down here. I figured maybe surrounding it with clay walls would keep the cold in better, but it seems my theory crafting there was not quite up to snuff. This also allows you to mine for resources. Over here, for example, we had a limestone deposit to begin with, but mining down, I found gold and iron, and so now I've got myself a little bit of a strip mining pit over here. The addition of the 3D mechanics really does add a genuine lot to the game, as it allows you to build in a completely new and far more free way. The building tool system itself requires a little bit of getting used to. It's a hint derpy, and that's in part because of the 3D nature of it as well. Allow me to demonstrate here. I'll pause the game. So, let's say that I was going to build a tower, right? You just draw out the walls like this, nice and easy, and then you slap on another set of walls, right? Okay. Now, immediately, you see something a little bit odd happen there. It looks like I'm drawing like normal, right? But that's the perspective, because if you look here, immediately it starts looking a bit derpy. I think it might be better if they would actually add in more solid colored blocks, like make them see-through when you hover over them, for example, but otherwise make them solid so that it's easier to see, because you can look at this clay wall right here. Now it's on the wall. If I move it a little bit further, it's not on the wall, and yet it's not that easy to tell. So if you're just drawing this out quickly, it's very easy to make mistakes due to the way the perception is drawn. Let's finish up the walls here. Now we're going to need a floor, of course. Otherwise, you're not going to get very far. Let's try and draw that out. It's a little finicky again. You kind of have to put it right over the line there. And then you can draw it out like this, which is nice and easy. It does require supports, depending upon how large it is, but it is actually quite generous. So you can make a floor like this very easily, for example, which is nice. I really hate though. I get it. Like, you need support structures underneath to keep a floor. I understand. But it also means that you need to plan out the entire goddamn thing in advance. In this case, let's say that you've built it a little bit too wide, yeah? It's a little bit too wide and you're lacking like one support structure. It's not a catastrophe because you can just set up a wooden beam like this. Now, the wooden beams does not impact travel in any way. People can walk under it just fine. But if you set up the wooden beams like this, suddenly you've got support for all of the floors on top of it. Nice and easy. Bearing in mind that the wooden beams can only be a maximum width of 10. But that means that theoretically you could have a 10 width wooden beam, then a wall, and then another set of 10 width wooden beams, allowing you to create some truly ginormous castles eventually, which is very, very, very cool. There we go. A little bit of lag. I am not super impressed with the performance, I've gotta say. Already, I've only got about 10 settlers right now, which isn't a massive number by any stretch of the imagination, and yet you can kind of see it if I swirl the camera around a little bit and move it a little bit brutally. It's starting to chug a tiny bit. Not to the point that it's any real distraction, and to be fair, I have built up quite a lot in this area, but just 10 people? Like, I want to have larger settlements than that. Particularly also because here's probably my primary complaint at this particular point in time. Despite clearly taking a great deal of inspiration from a certain Rimworld, the developers have improved upon the building system considerably, but they have failed to take appropriate measures to fix a lot of the problems that Rimworld has had over the years, and so we end up in a product that in many cases is kind of where Rimworld was 3 to 4 years ago. I find myself missing a lot of mods, like for example the When You're Up mod. Oh god, I miss that a great deal. I currently have, I think, 2 or 3 people prioritizing hauling, and you can see I still got shit just lying out in the open rotting because I don't have enough people to bring it in. And this is after all of the harvest is out of the way. During the heights of the harvest, half of my harvest was just laying on the ground, and it took me practically an entire season to actually get it inside. And even now, there's random bones, there's food, there's meals, there's stuff just lying about because I can't move it all. Now, with the Whilst You're Up mod, the AI would think to itself, like, okay, I'm over here, and I'm mining some limestone, right? And now I'm done mining limestone. Well, since I'm heading back towards the base anyways, I'm going to pick up the limestone and actually deliver it to the limestone gathering area, saving a lot of time, but unfortunately they don't do that. You can see a weather effect has kicked in here, and that starts chugging at the frame rate a little bit again. That is an annoying shortcoming, a very annoying one, because it means you gotta have little survivors, little dupes, little dudes, just simply engaged in hauling shit around your base, which means that building things takes forever. I was getting really frustrated about that, in fact, until I remembered a little bit of a trick from Zeus, Master of Olympus. Because in that game too, if you were building a wonder temple more correctly, it could take for absolute ages because they will only have like 1 or 2 transportation capable wagons. So it'd go out, it would fetch 4 marble blocks, come back, deliver 4 marble blocks, and then do that all over again at a time, requiring several hundred marble blocks. It was really, really annoying. So what I used to do is I'd put the gathering area right next to the temple, so that once it was still gathering only 4 marble blocks at a time, it was right next to the temple. So they simply just went out, picked up the resources, and went right back immediately. And that speeds up building a whole heck of a lot. As you can see, my new storage tower is already taking shape quite nicely. Though, now I'm going to start building the wooden floors, and then you got the problem again, where they have to wander out an extended distance to actually get the required resources, in this case, wood. It's got kind of the Rimworld issue as well. It needs boxes. Like, games like these need storage containers, because look at this. It's an entire massive storehouse, just completely filled with random crap lying around on the floor. Like, give me shelves. Holy hell, shelves would be so useful. You've got like what, like 1, 2, 3 blocks here? Give me a shelf that can store like 9 items, upwards. That would be so great. Because having to build massive houses just for the purpose of keeping stuff, I mean, it's historically accurate, I do suppose, but it could be a little bit easier. Or hell, just allow stuff to stack more, honestly. Like a stack of 50 linen cloths. Or taking up an entire slot for 1 clothing. It has a lot of the little hangovers from Rimworld that I don't really necessarily are beneficial, frankly. Another little annoyance here. Oh, actually, before that, one thing that I found really cool is you gotta produce clothes for your little dudes, right? So we got Catherine Berry here. Her clothing is not particularly impressive, is it? She is currently wearing a sturdy leather summer cloth. All right, but I believe, was it Hoey's here? I wish it would actually zoom you into the appropriate level as well. There you are. Hobbies. No, you have the same one. God damn it. It was one of my little ladies, some here. It was not Liveth. Was it? Oh, no, it was nowhere. Gerbagi? Was it you? No. Uthred? Was it you? No, it's definitely not you either. Anyhow, one of these characters somewhere has a... Oh, there we go. There you are. Has a higher quality outfit. God damn it. Zoom in, right? And then this is a superior leather summer cloth, and you can see it is actually visually distinct from the shittier one. That's real nice. I like that. It's a nice little touch and attention to detail, Very much so appreciate stuff like that. Now, it's getting cold outside, so let's make sure we turn on all of our braziers and such nonsense. Speaking of, I haven't actually placed them out here. There's no ventilation system, which I think there probably should be. Like some way of knocking a hole in the wall, something really simple like that to make it a little bit easier to heat large areas, as right now you kind of just gotta go and put braziers everywhere, but they don't burn fuel, so, I mean, it's hardly a big problem now, is it? There you go. I'll keep things a little bit nice and toasty. I can also go into the management section, again, rather Rimworld, and since it's getting to be winter, I'm going to tell them to put on their winter apparel. Now, ideally, this would be a nice and smooth transition process, right? Where they would take their clothes and they would bring them to wherever they found their winter clothing. Then they would put on the winter clothes and put the summer clothes down where they found the winter clothes, right? Nice and simple. Maybe even have like a specialized wardrobe building. No, of course not. Instead, they drop their old clothes directly on the ground. Now, what's worse is they drop them as a forbidden item. And since you can't also just click on all of them to pick them all up, what you gotta do then is you gotta look around your area, and you gotta manually go around and unforbid them 1 item by 1 item. That's no, that is mucho silly. That is mucho silly and mucho waste of player time. It's like, oh, now you gotta go around and find them all like this. Now that it is in 3D, I think they need to take a little bit of a step back and think to themselves, okay, we've already got most of the gameplay we've got down. Again, clearly they're aiming for a bit of Rimworld here, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now you need to start looking at what were the problems with Rimworld, and what of those problems could you actually solve by doing it in 3D. Already the ability to build up and down is a very, very, very nice addition, a really cool one. But now you also need to think about stuff like storing things in, altitude, up and down, being able to store things in cabinets, being able to store things in shelves. It would be really, really cool, for example, if I, down here in my food storage compartment, I could hang stuff from the rafters, for example. Say that you've got a building kind of like the wooden beam, right, which you could set up in the room like this, and then stuff could be hung from the rafters, and that would increase the storage capacity. That'd be fantastic. Sure, random person. Come to Archtopia. It is friend to random people like yourself. Now I have no idea. There we go. Utilize that space. Utilize that elevation. That would be really, 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 really nice. And for God's sake, whilst you're up, I do not want to have half of my dudes just running around hauling shit. Mucho stupido, yes. Now, Mila Zianti, who the hell are you, and what can you do? You've got the usual stat panel, of course, here. Botany, carpentry, construction, culinary, intellectual, which level up, and you've also got the interest, very passionate, so she will learn animal handling far quicker than anything else. Now, right now, the game is in fairly early access, and there's going to be a lot more mechanics added to the game. There is a mention of making soap, for example, but I don't think there's any building to actually make soap in the game yet. There's also no animal husbandry, as far as I've been able to tell, though there are mentions of using barley, for example, to feed chickens. So clearly these are things that are intended to be implemented in the game eventually. Right now, the research screen is not exactly massive. You can go all the way up to crossbows and stuff like that, but within the first couple of seasons, you'll probably have researched almost everything. I've actually not been researching anything for a long-ass time now, because I haven't really seen a whole lot of reason to do so. Though I suppose I wouldn't mind a few crossbows. Crossbows sounds pretty fun, honestly. What's the skill requirement of that? Carpentry 20, that's quite high. Oh, that's 20 crossbows. It might be a hint much. I think I've got 5 archers tops, so let's make 5 of those, shall we? And we'll put that up there. Another thing too, it would be really, really nice to have like a specialized cabinet for deconstruct. Say that I could build a cabinet right here, and I could mark that specifically for deconstruction purposes, so that only things put in the cabinet would be deconstructed. That would be quite nice as well. Maybe an inventory system would actually be really sweet in some of this. Let me see, you've got a schedule here as well. You work all that time, and then you have a little bit of leisure activity at the end of the day. A little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, a whole lot, just a little bit. Just enough to keep you sane. Speaking of, you aren't happening to be, bleeding, are you? Nah, just some bruises. Nobody minds a handful of bruises. Nobody's ever died of that, right? No, surely not. Right, there are definitely a lot of nice little ways to streamline this. Also, some stuff that's missing is there is no priority system yet, which is a really big bad deal. I can't prioritize stockpiles. That's not good, because I would like to prioritize the food stockpile quite highly, because if the food is not stored in the stockpile, it's going to start rotting quite quickly. And if I want to move limestone over here for a future building project, I want to be able to prioritize that as well. You do have the usual jobs prioritization system, which works out relatively well, but more prioritization systems would be really good. We also do not have the old shift system where you can queue up orders at the moment. That too is a kind of big oversight, in my opinion. There's a lot of little things that need adding. They still haven't picked this up. It's probably because I have nowhere to put it, because I've run out of storage space again. Another little argument I got here. Right, so it's got the kind of morale style system, right? Basically, assume if Rimworld has it, this game probably has it as well in some way, shape, or form. There's the mood system, right? So they've got the usual moderately tired, ugly appear, 8 at a table, you know, the usuals. But they've also got the really annoying thing. I saw a dead body. Oh my god, I'm freaking out. The people who came to murder us all and kill us in our sleep are dead. Oh no, how terrible. If anything, that should be a morale boost. Seeing of a raid should encourage people. Now, fortunately, they don't start freaking out quite as quickly as certain of the little Rimworld bastards, whom, if you keep them on high alert because you're expecting an incoming raid, which I am, by the way, will start whining and bitching about the lack of entertainment whilst waiting for a Tyranid invasion, with certain mods on, for 5 minutes. Like, that's really, really dumb. Now it's winter. The game has 4 seasons. It has spring, summer, autumn, and of course, winter. Winter is quite the bastard, because things get chilly awfully quickly. And since again, you may notice my little idiots haven't actually turned on any of the braziers. Why? Because even though some of them have actually been bored, having nothing to do. Nobody's actually bothered to do that yet. So, Militanti, you are going to be a steward above all then. So please run around, turn on all of the braziers, otherwise all of my people are going to bloody freeze to death. Which would be kind of unfortunate. Oh no, she's gonna prioritize resetting the traps instead. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily a terrible idea, considering we are about to get a raid off after all. Do drop that and get yourself some winter clothing. Oh, you don't have winter clothing either yet. Don't run around naked. I feel like that might result in some bad stuff here. Right, we're going to have the raid spawning fairly soon. The raids too, they do, again, I feel like I'm being overly negative here, but there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be added into, because if you're going to copy a certain title this much, you need to be able to compete with that title directly, right? So you need to add in a lot of features. And enemy raids are, of course, one of those. And it should be spawn any second now. You see, I've got a nice little surrounding wall here, so I should be able to see off the raid without too much of a problem. There's not a whole lot of techniques and tactics employed by the raiders at the moment, though, at all. In fact, I don't even think they get bows. I have never seen a raider spawn with a bow, and the only siege equipment they get are machine gun trebuchets. We shall refuse to hand over their people. Oh, we didn't get any trebuchets this time. Oh, this time they did get a ram, though. That's nice. I have not seen that before. Right, the ram being wielded by one individual person is a hinter, but, you know, there you go. Because there's a lot of cool stuff you could potentially do with this system. The idea of having your own castle and needing to defend it, that's a very interesting one. You could have stuff like sappers. You could have stuff like them trying to actually besiege and starve you out. Though, honestly, with the amount of resource production I'm currently getting, good bloody luck. Very good bloody luck. So I'm going to put my dudes out on the parapets right now. You do gain an advantage from having elevation over the enemy, of course, a feature that Total War games don't bloody have anymore. And so you gain extra critical hit chance and extra damage, and I believe a little bit of extra range as well. Maybe some additional enemies too. Right now, it seems to be a fairly realistic style game, you know, quote unquote. I would honestly not mind some monsters though, because just fighting different flavors of Hoymans, I feel like could get boring rather quickly. Maybe like almost like half giants kind of stuff, or like some semi-fantasy. This apparently takes place in ye old England, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Where's my last little archer here? It's pretty... There we go. Come here. Deprived of religious activity. Really? Are you? I think you were in the temple just yesterday, but okay, fine, you know. It wouldn't be Rimworld if it weren't for a little bit of whinge here and there. Now, these fort bandits are really not much of a threat to me at all, because they don't have shields. Shields are very powerful, and can straight up cancel out the effect of arrows, which, you know, makes sense. But if they don't have shields, you can see here, yeah, the damage gets pretty catastrophic pretty goddamn quickly. And since the enemy don't have any archers of their own, they kind of just have to walk slowly up to my gate and get absolutely peppered whilst doing so. Now they're trying for a little bit of a flanking march here, the sneaky little bastards. Where are they going? I'm suspecting maybe the ram will allow them to attack the walls? I don't know for certain. Right, they seem to be going the long way. I do have a gate here, which they've apparently chosen to not attack, which is interesting. Let's just start moving you towards the other wall as well. I doubt they can't mine their way in, can they? Now that would be a nice thing as well, their ability to mine their way in, or maybe to bring stuff like siege ladders. That could be really cool. Because right now I'm relying almost entirely, in fact, that was probably why they were going all the way around, because yep. They sensed some settlers outside of the walls. That's why they were going the long way, but now I think they've gone so far that they're kind of just gonna go with it. So, you know, fair enough, I guess. Mr. Ram Man is also taking the long way. I feel like they're not really utilizing that ram to the fullest of its potential, if I'm to be entirely honest with you here. I am assuming that there are plans for ranged combatants eventually as well, because you can see here I do have the little battlements. Merlons, that was the name of them, right? And they do provide cover, so I'm guessing that is because there will be ranged enemies eventually. Now this raid is not going to get much done. I do have a few traps here. Did he step on my mechanical trap? He did not. Here we have just some nice little sticky... Oh, there we go. Trap misfired. The traps feel pretty useless because if they hit, they do almost no damage, and most of the time, they seemingly just don't actually activate at all. So I am somewhat skeptical about their efficiency, but surely later on you will get even more and even cooler traps as well. Alan is dead. That is too bad for Alan, but it's great for me. Now, Henry, are you feeling lucky, punk? Because if I were you, I would not be feeling particularly lucky. That is an iron grate, and you are barely tickling it. And there we go. Right. A little bit more challenge in the... Oh, you smashed... Oh, boy. Well, that was close, huh? He hits hard, apparently, because he smashed through another iron grate there real damn quick. Nice. Yes, more stuff like that would be neat, like more siege equipment. And make the siege equipment a little bit more realistic as well, because they spawn with like 4 trebuchets right over here that just start shooting like pew, 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 and busted down both of my churches in about 5 seconds, which is a little bit annoying. Maybe have them target the walls specifically, maybe give them a fairly limited amount of ammunition, or just simply have it take a while to shoot. Now, in the case of clay walls, they of course have dick all hit points, because it's clay, and so it crumbled very quickly, whereas stuff like limestone, I would hope, would be able to take a little bit more in the way of damage, because it's got twice the hit points. And eventually, of course, as you get able to refine better material, like the limestone bricks over here, I believe that's going to have a lot more. Limestone block wall, there we go, hit points 800. So you see, eventually you'll want to build some real proper fortresses. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure that clay brick is going to be quite as effective as limestone brick wall, but oh well. Maybe you can even have iron walls. Okay, that might be a hint overkill. Iron walls. I'm sure that would be lovely, but at the same time, I don't know if that would be entirely feasible. Right, you can also see the difference in temperature here. Of course, outside it's going to get awfully nippy awfully quickly, so you want to keep it nice and toasty inside with the braziers. There's also a little bit of a lack of a refinement system right now. For example, if I go down to my storage room again, you can see that I've got a bunch of barley gathered up here. Now, you would immediately think, like, okay, you would use this to, grind into flour, then you'd bake that into bread, then maybe you'd make, like, bread with meat for fancy food. That is not in the game yet either. So the only use for barley right now is beer, which of course is certainly a use for it. But again, I do expect all of this to eventually be added. What would be really cool too if you could actually design some more of the stuff as well. Because right now, the rooms are fairly simplistic. If you want a workshop, for example, which increases the production speed, spare room, really? Oh, I think it's because I don't have anything on the floor there, but there we go. Inside workshop, room type production, 120%. You can see that boosts it. Maybe have it so you need specialized rooms. So instead of building just a armorer's table, maybe you gotta build a bellows and a workshop and then like an armory dummy and a test station and lots more stuff like that. That'd be really cool. Take the base experience and build upon it. I think would be the good option here, in my opinion. Anywho, I think that wraps it up quite nicely. Going medieval. At the moment, I will say it struggles a little bit in the shadow of its primary inspiration, really. I think it does need to put a bit of thought into how it's going to differentiate itself more properly, and how, even more importantly, it's going to, make the argument. Play me instead of Rimworld, That is something, if they're going to take this much inspiration, and again, I'm not saying that's wrong. In fact, I think that's a great idea, to take inspiration from something good and then iterate upon it like this. And again, I really do like the fact that you have now elevations. That's a very new and cool and different mechanic that opens up so many more possibilities, particularly in building outrageous and awesome looking bases. But if you're going to do that, you are going to have to expect the good old question, why play this over the other thing? And so I think using that elevation mechanic and easing some of the problems as well, like easing the storage issues, making things a little bit easier to handle, making it simpler to actually control your little settlers' behavior, where they put stuff down, where they pick stuff up, how they handle their stockpiles, wardrobes, shit like that would be really, really, really useful. If you are interested in looking up the game, then as mentioned, it should be entering into early access in around about a week from the point in time where you see this video. And I do recommend giving it a look, or at the very least keeping an eye on it, because if they expand upon the mechanics to the point that I do certainly hope they do, I think this will be a lot of fun. I've already found myself playing this a whole lot, and I think I'll even keep playing this a little bit after having made my video on it. And honestly, in this day and age, about as high a praise as I can heap upon a product as I can think of. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.